We hear a lot about psychedelic-assisted therapy, but 3 out of 4 people who choose to consume psychedelics do so at home or in nature with friends or loved ones. I'm April, founder of SetSet, an integration platform to help you get the most out of your psychedelic experiences. The podcast episode you're about to listen to may reference one of my previous shows, The High Guide or How to Do the Pot, because I've been a trusted source in cannabis and psychedelics since 2015. I invite you to visit getsetset.com and sign up for our newsletter to receive your free guide on set and setting to make the most of your next psychedelic journey. This podcast discusses cannabis and is intended for audiences 21 and over.
I feel like concentrates are still the stigmatized or the scary category of cannabis. And a lot of people who aren't familiar with dabbing or who have never heard of it, or even if they have, what I hear all the time is people go, "Oh, I don't know how you do that." And that's so scary. And I think when talking about concentrates, a lot of people forget that vaping and hitting a vape pen is consuming cannabis concentrates.
Welcome to The High Guide. I'm your host, April Pride. As the cannabis and psychedelic movements evolve into uncharted territory, every week we bring you a new conversation with High Guides. These are individuals with the latest and greatest information lighting up the space. It goes without saying that cannabis concentrates have a complicated reputation, but maybe the word concentrate is complicated enough. So let's start by answering, what is a cannabis concentrate? Similar to that of orange juice concentrate, cannabis concentrates are the product of distilling down the most desirable parts of the plant, like its psychedelic compound, THC. And ounce for ounce, cannabis in concentrate form has a far greater proportion of THC than raw cannabis flower. Thanks to less involved and more approachable hardware, the world of concentrates has become more accessible to the everyday cannabis consumer. This certainly holds true for the most intimidating of all consumption methods, dabbing, which is not to be confused with the dab, an arm motion acted out by kids and their parents in boomerangs in photos a few years ago. Fun fact that this was in fact adapted from mimicking a person coughing after taking a dab hit. Got your attention? Listen while we demystify the dab in this week's episode, thanks to our High Guide, Elise McRoberts. Elise is the CMO of Doc Greens and a judge at many cannabis competitions around the world, including High Times Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam and their Emerald Cup in California.
I guess in some worlds, I'm definitely a concentrates expert, and I love it because, it's just a fascinating space to me, and I'm of course, a passionate consumer of them as well.
And Doc Greens is an interesting story because they're really using concentrates in various forms to make a name for themselves. And I don't want to go directly to this, but I am kind of curious. What do you think, what do you know about the theory that everyone ends up dabbing because of tolerance levels? And if, it really is a very clean high. I'm curious if Doc Greens subscribes to that theory, and that's why they're so deep in concentrates.
I joined Doc Greens and launched with concentrates is because one, it is what we all on the team love to consume. And we, do feel it is the cleanest and best way to get all of your cannabinoids, flavonoids, and terpenes aside from taking a tincture. It's the only way you can really get such a true flavor and like full spectrum experience. And we just really feel it's the closest to the flower expression in its purest form. We are on a mission to just help normalize concentrate consumption, help destigmatize it, help people feel comfortable to try it, because in my experience, I've given a lot of people their first dab. It's so beautiful to just see someone's face light up and have them go, wow, that tastes amazing. And, have them feel good and an enjoyable experience. And then, they can take on their own journey with it. I just hope that concentrates can, just seem a little less scary. And what I hear all the time is, are you just high all the time? Are you super stoned all the time? And I, constantly am telling them, no, I'm actually not. And there is a way to dab, which is vaporized concentrates in a way that, isn't going to make you sweat or feel like you're going to pass out or need to go to sleep or have that couch lock or anxiety or, the negative effects of cannabis that some people do experience. The key to having a good first dab experience is low temperature and taking a micro dab. The higher the temperature, the more THC you'll get and less terpene. So that's why, you will feel higher or get that high rush sooner. Whereas, the lower temp and with more terps and less of the THC, because they vaporize at different temperatures, you're going to get all of that flavor. And then also, we don't necessarily fully know how, cannabinoids, terpenes, and flavonoids all work together to give us the head change or the experience that we have when consuming cannabis. But we at least know now that it's not just the THC. We know that terpenes absolutely do play a part in the effect and the feeling. So therefore, when you're getting more of those terpenes, I just think what we believe is, getting all of that together, the terpenes, flavonoids, the cannabinoids interacting harmoniously, right?
This brings up another fine point. While cannabis concentrates may technically be more potent, the different highs experienced between smoking flower and taking dabs is very apparent. You're not simply higher, it's a different experience altogether.
I can tell you I dab, pretty frequently. And so for me, I'm not feeling a high or a head change. I'm really doing it for the flavor and the experience. And also just, for me, it is like a medicine. It's like almost like a vitamin. But if I, for example, like at the end of the day or smoke a joint, it's interesting because I'm so used to dabbing or consuming concentrates that when I consume flower, it's actually a totally different high. And for me, that then gives me that more stony feeling. Whereas like dabbing gives me a very kind of like I can be concentrated and alert and just focused. But if I want that like unwind experience, I would have to smoke.
As we've been talking about cannabis concentrates, it seems all too easy to overlook the everyday vape pen. While not dabbing per se, these cartridges, are packed with concentrated cannabinoids and a lot of other stuff too, depending on the product. You may have heard the term concentrate and extract used interchangeably, but there's a subtle difference between the two. Extracts are a specific type of concentrate made using a solvent. So while all extracts are concentrates, not all concentrates are extracts. For example, vanilla extract is produced by using alcohol as a solvent to pull out the desired flavor component from vanilla bean pods. Alcohol may also be used to make a cannabis extract, as is the case with Rick Simpson oil, RSO.
I think when talking about concentrates, a lot of people forget that vaping and hitting a vape pen is consuming cannabis concentrates. And there's all different types of oil out there in the vape carts that people can hit. And so make sure that if you are a vapor, you know what kind of oil you're consuming through your vape pen. Did they add anything to it? Did they add in non-cannabis terpenes or did they add cannabis terpenes or are there other flavor things in it? Carts are often just assumed to be this easy thing. And there's actually, a lot more to be looked into with your vape cart.
And we can tell after this discussion of stereotypes and stigmas associated with concentrates, there's a lot of reputation building to do with these substances. We hope this audio enhanced your understanding of why high guides like Elise choose to dab. No, she's not high all the time, but she very much appreciates the pure flavor and flower expression that these products can provide. Believing education is the key. We can't thank Elise enough for sharing her knowledge with us, replacing any fears with some functional advice for your next high adventure.